Good afternoon, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. We try to think about the game the yesterday, and obviously the emotions running high yesterday, and even this morning, everyone's pissed off. But when you look at the season as a whole, um, when you look at the fact that Celtic have scored, they've got a goal tally for 56, they've got a goal tally against 34. When you look at the goal scorers over this season, that's where it gets interesting. Benji Negrin's the top goal scorer, then Dice Maida, then Yang, then Johnny Kenny, then Arnie Engels, Rio Hatate. I can't remember him scoring many goals this season. Kieran Tierney, Sebastian Tenecti, Callum McGregor, Kelechi Acho with 3, Luke McCowan with 3, Liam Scales with 2, and including had a third when he headed it into his own net. Austin Trusty with 2, Tam the Czech with 2, Junior Adamu with 2, Julian Araujo with 1, James Forrest with 1, Alistair Johnson with 1, Dane Murray with 1, and Callum Osmond with 1 goal also to their name this season. When you look at the strikers, you think to yourself, Dyson was on 33 goals all, in all competitions last year. Way off the mark this year. More the type of goals that you'd be more accustomed to over the years. Yang, the amount of goals that he's scored is more than any other season. Johnny Kenny, I think he scored 6 goals before he left. And then you look at the ones that were brought in the winter window. Junior Adamu, Tam the Czech, they've scored 3 goals between them. 2 of Tam the Czech's came from penalties. And then yesterday you have, after that game, you do have Callum McGregor speaking to the media, scored 3 goals. And I am running a poll, by the way. If you're watching on television, jump onto your phone and join in the poll. Will Celtic remove any board members this summer, or any board member this summer? Not members, because I don't think that there'll be more than one will be dismissed, if any. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's listen to Callum McGregor after the game yesterday.
The result, performance as well. I think we have to be honest. Over the 2 spells with Martin and Sean, I think that's probably the worst that we've been. We've had a pretty bad day. Listen, we know where we are, and I think now's the time for calm heads. It's an emotional situation, of course it is, but we have to be calm and understand where we want to be as a team and how we're going to get there.
Where we want to be as a team and how we're going to get there. Is it not a bit late in? I mean, this is the kind of chat that's Callum McGregor. It's the kind of conversation. And is he just running out of things to say, Callum? It's not, and I'm going to say it's not Scott Brown-esque. It's not Neil Lennon. It's not Paul Lambert. When you think of some of the captains that have worn the armband over the last 20 years, none of them would give that kind of chat this. And I don't want to pick on Callum. I think that he's had a fantastic career, but it's a bit defeatist. It's a bit, we need to think about where we want to be
as a team and how we're going to get there. Where we want to be as a team and how we're going to get there. The result.
That's the kind of chat that you have at the beginning of the season when you're trying to boost the morale of the players and the fans and saying, it's a long journey ahead. The fact that we're down to so very few games now, I mean, I don't think that there are many Celtic supporters believe that we can win every single remaining game, especially when we got beat by Dundee United for the second time in a season. I mean, it would just top it off altogether if we're on the 5th of April when we go to Dundee. I mean, it would just top it all off if we got beat there. It would just. But anyway, let's jump into the comments and see what they're saying about this poll that we do have running this evening. Will Celtic remove any board member this summer? 61% say no. 39% say yes. So, with that being said, we're going to jump in. Didn't Nicholson hand in his notice that was not back till the summers? Why would they knock it back to the summer, Scott? I mean, I don't. I mean, it was a rumor that was going about. I, for one, don't think that there's any truth to the rumor. Don't think there's any truth about the rumor at all. You know, yeah. That comment is when you've played three and lost one. It is, isn't it? It is. Roger Janine says last match said it was time to drop Casper, Cameron Carter Vickers, Callum, Rio, Dies and Maida. Still stand by it. The spine of the team is horrendous. Well, the thing is Casper didn't play at the weekend. Cameron Carter Vickers is out injured until the end of the season. Callum came back. You can tell Callum's getting towards the end of his career. You never want to slate players, but the whole there was nobody got past match yesterday. There's no use trying to pick out any individual player because in the second half yesterday it was just I've never seen I have seen teams play like this before, and you generally see teams. We played yesterday like a team that's at the bottom end of the English Premiership. They've got a lot of loan players in, and they know that they're not going to win anything. Do you know, the mindset's not there. We spoke about this morning. The mindset's not there for the players that came in, and the character. And what makes it even more difficult is from sort of 20. I mean, I would say even under Ronnie Dyler, he didn't get the best out of the squad. And then when Brendan Rodgers came in, he got players clicking. Everyone said that Scott Brown's career was coming to an end when Brendan Rodgers came in. There was a lot of fans at the time said that Scott Brown couldn't play the way that Brendan Rodgers would like to play football, the fast attacking stuff, and his days were numbered. And he went on to have another good four odd years left in him. The big turnaround coming to Celtic this summer it's given me the fear because we will not have the bulk of a squad. We will not have a bulk of players that have come through the system, that know Celtic, that know this winning mentality that we've gained over the years. The winning mentality came from hard work, putting pressure on teams. I think that if anything, you could say that Brendan Rodgers and Brendan Ball completely killed the ethos of Celtic Football Club over the last 2 years. And history may look back and say it was the wrong decision to bring back Brendan Rodgers. Especially if we get to the end of this season and if we do not win anything. I think that there is this slim chance. I think even if we can get it to the second last game of the season and we're still within a shout, it will come down to, I mean, once you get to the second last game of the season, kick-off that day will determine if Celtic are going to win the league or not. I think it'll already been decided by then because I don't think that Celtic will get a massive victory against Rangers. They may do. They may pull it out the bag, but going on current form and even the players that are coming back, I don't think that there's enough in this squad to. We've been looking for a certain type of performance all season, and we've never had it once. And that's the disappointing part. And when you can see Martin O'Neill going his dinger yesterday on the touchline, and disbelief more than anything. Disbelief that you have players that are playing for Celtic Football Club that are not given 110%, that are not playing the way that they've been instructed to play. We put it down to Wilfred Nancy trying to change tactics too much. We put it down to Wilfred Nancy and his style and players not believing in him. It's the same players that played under Brendan Rodgers didn't perform. It's the same players that didn't agree with Wilfred Nancy. It's now the same players because the additions that were brought in have not made any difference to the team. The same players that are not performing now that didn't perform at the beginning of the season. So the next manager that comes in is going to have a massive rebuild. The reason that we were so successful going to the 9 in a row was we had stability. We don't have stability just now because there's up to 13, 14, 15, 16 players that aren't going to be at the club next year. That means you're bringing in a whole new bunch of players into a club that do not understand the must-win every game mentality. And that's what's wrong with the current players. You know, when you've seen the attitude of some of the players yesterday at finish time, at the end of at full time, the look on their faces is it's only one game. You know, and that's been the case far too much this season. It's only one game. Those one games keep totting up. The draws keep totting up. They have done. You know, the amount of points that we've lost, and you know, it's bonkers. It is bonkers. Right, let's jump into some of these comments. Where is Scarlett Pimpernel Nicholson? You're not going to hear from him between the end of the season. What's happening with Willie Hawkey's buying the shares? Oh, well, that's an interesting one. It seems to have went quiet. It's always the same with Celtic, though, isn't it? I mean, someone comes out and puts together a proposal, and then you'll have people in the background that don't agree with it, and it's a weird one. There's a sacrificial lamb, at least, but to be honest, Dermot Desmond and certain other board members just go new money with progressive ideas and ambition. I won't hold my breath. The board has to go now, says Sean. And regarding Calmac, he's been fantastic for our club, a great servant to our club. It's time for him and for us to move on. We need a full freshness and rebuild. But who do you bring into the midfield? When Gordon Strachan brought in Scott Brown to Celtic, he brought Scott Brown in for a reason. He knew that he wanted to turn Scott into a Celtic legend. He knew that he wanted to change Scott Brown from a box-to-box midfielder. You don't hear of people being called box-to-box midfielders now, do you? It's a term that's it seems to be back in the day, and it was not too long ago. But Scott Brown, when he came to Celtic, was that box-to-box midfielder. He would be up in one, but now you've got to play your position. Modern football managers seem to be killing football players as a whole, taking the rawness away from them. What Gordon Strachan did was take that rawness that Scott Brown had and refined it into a holding midfield general, someone that could dominate a game of football. Not only dominate a game of football, but could watch an attacking team and watch players moving and break down, advances from an opposing team. You've always got to have someone that has an affinity to Celtic and in those kind of positions. I fear going into next year, yes, we do need a rebuild of some sort. But when you have a various number of players that don't have that affection to Celtic, I mean, you could say that Luke McCown has it, but Luke McCown's nowhere near the standard that's required. There is nobody within Scottish football at the moment that would be Celtic. There's no Scottish player that could come to Celtic and take over the running of the midfield. And that's the worry going forward, because you then dilute what it is to play for Celtic. And Brendan Rodgers said that we're coming to the end of an era. He knew what was coming because he knows what happens to football clubs in the next stage. Look at Manchester United. They've been an absolute shit show. Players coming and, you know, kissing the badge and giving it all this, but they don't give it the 110, the 120%. I would even say that Kieran Tierney's changed. When Scott Brown was at Celtic, Tierney would come out every single training session with a t-shirt on. You now see Kieran Tierney and he's went soft. He's got gloves on in training, hats, you know, hoodie. Even Kieran Tierney's went soft. And you could see it in his play. Has the rawness been taken out of Kieran Tierney's game? That never say die. Well, when we think of Kieran Tierney, a lot of us think of Kieran Tierney when he got his face smashed at Hampden and he got taken away to hospital. And then he came back and he ran up the stairs at Hampden. You know, just as the final whistle was going, he ran up the stairs at Hampden and he ran on to get onto that pitch to make sure that he could get his winner's medal. He seems to have lost that. Too many of the Celtic players have lost that. And I don't think that you can bring in players to a club that will understand and will have that automatically. You can bring in good players. It's whether or not Celtic will bring in good players or whether they'll just bring in the way that the club will just keep going, journeymen. They'll bring in someone, and I just hope when you look at Benji Negrin being the top goal scorer this season, it's always the case when Celtic have a high scoring midfielder, he's sold in the next summer. We're going to sell Dyson Maeda. We're going to sell Rio Hitati. If we sell Benji Negrin as well, you're talking about 16 players that we're going to have to bring in. That's too much in one season to really go forward, and especially, you know, that now that you do have a Hearts team that are sitting with they're sitting with 10 million in the bank. If Rangers get Champions League football next year, they're going to be sitting with millions in the bank as well. There's a big level playing field. The Scottish football has went through one of the most changeable seasons ever, and there's only one person that's to blame for the downfall of Celtic Football Club, and that is Michael Nicholson. You know, we can say it until we're blue in the face. We all know that Nicholson is the man that deals with contracts. He's the man that's letting us down. If we lose to Dundee, I will concede the league, says Chilpel. Well, I just hope that it doesn't happen. But I didn't think that we would lose to Dundee twice in a season at Tannadice. Something that hasn't happened since the 1990s. I believe useless board member wishes to leave. There will be, I believe, unless a useless board member wishes to leave, there'll be no changes. Callum ain't captain material. I keep saying it. He slows down our game yesterday. Goes to show again. But when Oxlade Chamberlain came into the club, we didn't. Callum played a lot better. You know, Shun Yamada has only played for 105 minutes for the German second division team. How our scouts thought he was Celtic quality is baffling. That makes it even worse, doesn't it? His shadow got in the way of him resigning. Nicholson isn't going to give up 800k salary. No, he's not. If there's going to be change at boardroom level, it will get announced soon with season ticket renewals coming up. I never thought of that one. If Nicholson does want to leave the club, if Nicholson is going, do you know what, this isn't worth it. This abuse from a certain part of the fan base isn't worth it. If he does leave, do you know, it is all about just playing Celtic for fools, aren't they? They're taking the pure and utter mince out of fans that way. Then they are just toying with fans because it's a decision that could have obviously, if it does happen like that, You have to say to yourself, why wasn't the decision taken earlier to save our season? The average age of our board members is around 63 years old. We are run by dinosaurs. I don't think that you're a dinosaur at 63. I mean, what you have a wealth of experience. People are putting in, I've seen someone putting in the comment, make Martin O'Neill director of football. He's 74. Do you know, would that then be acceptable to put in Martin O'Neill into such a high profile position within the club? I mean, I still think the chairman is or something in that part is where Martin O'Neill be. But do you know, when you get to the end of the season now, I think Martin would turn around and go, "No thanks. I'm going to enjoy my coffees and I'm going to do some commentating. I don't want any part on the board of Celtic Football Club, thank you." And rightly so, because this isn't the Celtic that he knew of 25 years ago. This is a very different Celtic animal that he's having to deal with. Callum knows that the team isn't good enough. The reason Callum looks mediocre. Yes, this is very true. These clowns on the board are getting a good wage out of Celtic. That are that. The board will get. This summer. Try low ball loans. Yeah, I think that the board will have to spend money this summer, and especially if we lose the league, Celtic will definitely spend money in the summer. Big shout out to Barry for the super chat. Thank you for that, mate. If we had kept Martin O'Neill, I don't think we would be sitting in this position. Nancy lost so many games. But then we would still have the ongoing situation of the summer. Do you know, it doesn't change what's going to come. It doesn't change what's coming in the summer, because Martin O'Neill, if Martin O'Neill had stayed and Wilfred Nancy hadn't, Martin O'Neill would only be bringing in players to see him till the end of the season, like what he did. So it doesn't really change the long-term narrative of you know, whatever happens this season. You know, you can't go back and say, you know, in hindsight, it's good saying, yeah, we should have kept Martin. And in hindsight, we should have got rid of Brendan Rodgers in the summer, and we should have brought in a new manager in the summer. You know, but you know, that's the big thing. Do we have a scouting setup ready for next season? Yes, it's Sean Maloney and some other geezers. We need to buy tons of new players. We should have the ball rolling right now. That's the $1 million question when it comes to Celtic, isn't it? Don't buy season tickets until the last a minute, says Peter. But as you heard any rumours about Rodgers fronting a takeover with the Saudis? Not a chance, mate. Come on. Rodgers would get chased out of Celtic. Would you really want Brendan Rodgers back? Isn't it time to move forward? Brendan Rodgers knows he will never come back to Celtic. And Dermot Desmond would never sell his shares. So that's pipe and slipper stuff and WhatsApp group wind-ups. That's what that is. Why do all our VAR decisions only take one camera angle? Bah, I'm not even going to talk about VAR, there's no point. Even everyone else in the chat. If you think Dermot is bad, wait till he dies and his son takes over. He'll be worse and more controlling. If he does, he can't take an active control of the club because he is not the majority shareholder. He's only the majority shareholder. He isn't the owner. So he cannot act as if he is the owner. Well, Dermot Desmond gets away with it, so yeah. It angered me that Callum McGregor has blamed the pitch as part of our loss. I'm sorry, you're a professional football player. You should be able to play on any surface. Yep. Definitely. I don't think. I mean, Callum McGregor saying it wasn't great for the way that we want to play. You've still got to pass the ball. Callum making excuses for the pitch when we watch the watch-alongs, we talk about other teams that have played against us. Hibs played against us. Motherwell played against. Motherwell were playing fantastic football in the first half, and they were playing one-touch pass stuff, straight to the feet of the player. Celtic never hit the ball straight to the player's feet. They hit it in front of them. That has to come down to tactical awareness. That has to come down to training. So that means that the people that are training and taking the training sessions at Celtic are not up to scratch, and that's Sean Maloney, McManus, and Fozzie. So, Jim's dreading the summer. I think that we all are. In the pub, caught me out. Oh, Gav's in the pub. I wish I was in the pub. Going into the unknown, new management, coaches, ton of new players will be coming and surely going. Yes, and it is that unknown. Look, there's one thing that we know for sure. If Celtic do pull a rabbit out the hat in terms of an Ange Postecoglou type signing that can bring in players to Celtic at the kind of money that Ange brought in, that he knows, likes, trusts, that understands the way that he plays, that believe in him. This is the biggest concern that we've got going into the summer now, is players will hold off signing for Celtic, rightly so, until we have a manager in place. Because you're not going to sign for a club if you don't know who the manager is. And you've got players that are at the club already that may ask for a transfer. Balak Wisher, we spent 5 million on him. How do you recruit any of that money when you haven't played him for more than 3 games? He's not even played 3 games, has he? I mean, in total, he's not played 3 games. It's absolutely bonkers. Give Martin O'Neill director of football and Willie Hawkey chairman. I don't think that's going to happen. Don't forget what Brendan said about the board bleeds Celtic. I bleed the life out of us. This is true. We can't score in this 4-2-3-1 formation system that Martin is playing. It's the same formation that, well, we couldn't play the 4-3-3 under Brendan Rodgers. We couldn't play the 4-2-3-1 under Wilfred Nancy. Modern football, all the modern football teams are moving away from a 4-3-3, and they're moving more to having the 2 defensive midfielders. Now, the difference between having 2 really good defensive midfielders is that Rio Hatate was getting lost. Rio Hatate's mindset is, I'm a midfielder, I'm an attacking midfielder. So he tries to go way up and he gets into positions and it leaves Calmac sitting on his own, not defensive enough. The idea of the 3 in the middle and the 2 behind it is so more you can get sort of diagonal balls going and little diamond shapes and stuff. It just doesn't work with Celtic because the players are not sticking to the formation. Do you know? Which is a bit weird. I'm not confident for next season. God knows what dross we will buy in the summer. Take care, Stephen Johnson. Basel scores 50 goals less than the same time last season, says it all. Yeah, it does. It's like at the beginning of the video when we spoke about the goal scorers. Top goal scorer this season, Benji Negrin. Dies Maida behind him, then Yang, Johnny Kenny, Arne Engels. Arne Engels has been out since God knows when. Rio Hatate on 5. Kieran Tierney scored goals. Sebastian Tenetti's chipped in. Callum McGregor's chipped in with 4 goals. Kelechi Iheanacho 4. Luke McCown's has scored 3 goals. The issue is that we've not got strikers that are, or even wingers, midfielders that are scoring on a regular enough basis. We all know what the issue is that Celtic are trying to walk the ball through a packed defence. Whatever manager comes in will need to understand that, the formation that you play and the way that, the reason that you play a 4-2-3-1 formation is so you've got 3 midfielders really putting pressure on, and then the striker who is further on. We need 2 strikers at Celtic. I've said this for long enough. We need 2 strikers. There has to be. I would even go back to going 4-4-2 for Celtic. It seems to be working for another club, but we have to give the manager next season time because he's going to need it. And if we start jumping on the back of the new manager when he comes in, we're going to end up like a certain other club in Scotland and just going through managers like nobody's business, which isn't the Celtic way. All the hard work in the world is not good if they cannot even pass the ball, says the Pope Sox, 1997. Passing, and it astounds me how many bad passes we make in a game. Do you know, trying to pass into an area and expecting there seems to be an awful lot of disjointedness between the players on the park. Whatever they're doing in training, they seem to be good at it, and Martin picks the players and so, well, he's doing fantastically well in training. When they get onto the pitch, it's like that they've never spoke to each other. It's bizarre. Completely bizarre. Read today as well that last year we were scoring average 3 or 4 a game. Yes, we were. Martin be looking forward to the end of the season. You can tell he regrets coming back. He didn't realise it would be this bad. I think that when you look at Martin O'Neill's hair, he's got a lot more grey hair and he looks older. This has aged him. That's sleepless nights that's doing this to Martin O'Neill. And I just hope that we're not prematurely aging him. Don't know, but anyway. Kieran says Rodgers on the Saudis takeover would be amazing. Hopefully the rumours are true. I think Kieran's on the wind up this evening. He would get chased. Brendan Rodgers would get chased. No fans turned up to see Brendan Rodgers come back to Celtic the second time. What makes you think that the fans would entertain Brendan? Brendan Rodgers is at the core of everything that's went wrong this season. You know, the very first press conference of the season, Brendan Rodgers made sure it was all about him. All about his contract. The very first press conference for the first game of the season. Nothing was about the game. It was all about Brendan Rodgers and his contract situation. And then Brendan Rodgers came out with an elaborate story. Something that Jack and Ori would be proud of. Because according to the Celtic board, there was not 1 ounce of truth in that statement that Brendan Rodgers made that day to the media. Not 1 ounce of truth. Saying that it was all on the board. We're not together. Seemingly the board offered him the contract and he says, well, let's leave it to the end of the summer. A bit like what Ange Postecoglou did. I wouldn't believe a word that came out of Brendan Rodgers' mouth, and I certainly wouldn't want him anywhere near the club. Us fans pay the Fat Cats wages. They run the club into the ground. Money is all they will take notice of in the age of being screwed royally by them. If there's no change at the boardroom level, if there's going to be change at the boardroom level, it will be announced as the season tickets are announced. My throat is nearly going again. Apologies, I am going to jump through towards the later stages of the comments. Jojo says, by the way, we lost 8 games. We're good at making history. So yes, I think we could still win the double. Hail, hail. Keep the faith. I think that if it happens, it will go down as legendary status. But when you think of legendary teams that have overachieved, I would take away the 2003 team because that team never achieved anything. It achieved a great thing in getting to Seville, but we never won anything in 2003. People forget that. People forget that, it was the biggest disappointing of the end of a season ever. Whilst it was great for everyone that went to the games and went to, and we never We never won anything. When you look at the 88 team, the 1988 team, that had fight, had passion, players that would bleed for the club. All that's missing from this season. You know, so 86. You could even say under Ange Postecoglou, the we never stop scenario. You know, keep going. It's a very different team. Very, very different team. 8.2 million was on the park on Sunday. 8.2 million, is that what we paid in money? Why believe in anything that they say, Baz? Jesus. Well, you believe that Brendan Rodgers is coming back to Celtic with Saudis, mate. If you want to talk far-fetched. I wouldn't sign a long term with the board either for a third time, to be honest. Rodgers is never coming back. Stop talking nonsense. Yeah, Typhoon McFluster, you've got it straight on. The club is like the miners' strike in the 80s and 90s. That was the 80s, mate. It wasn't the 90s, the miners' strikes. Trust me, my dad was a miner. The club's like a mess in the 90s, but yeah, the miners' strike in the 80s was a bit of a mess as well. You can't blame Brendan for the mess that we are in just now. Dermot Desmond and the board have fucked up as usual. Why didn't Brendan? If Brendan Rodgers should have left, if Brendan Rodgers felt he wasn't getting backed, and if he felt that the club weren't doing enough, why didn't the day after the transfer window closed? Why didn't he resign? Why did he keep on making excuses for months and months, and for a couple of months after the transfer window closed? So Brendan Rodgers is all about himself. Yes, he is that. Hence the reason that he walked out on Celtic again. This season has been the worst I've ever watched. Just tell me what you've heard. Oh, I love those ones. Just tell you what I heard. I heard from Auntie Josie, and she got told for Big Tam, and Big Tam got told for a guy down the pub. And the guy down the pub says that his brother works for the postman who delivers letters to Slowell. At least we've got to have a laugh, mate. We do. We've got to have a laugh. Follow the money, Dunfermline. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We are born to watch. Yeah, we've been born to watch. What was up with Tam yesterday? He was seemingly ill during the week and he was off. I don't want Rodgers back either. But with his boards, lots of twists and turns to come out yet. Keep the faith. Do you know what really astounds me for this season is that we can pull out performances like we did in Holland, and then pull out a performance like we did in Germany. But then in the same note, the same bunch of players can have a performance like they did in Karat Almaty away. And then the exact same type of performance that they had at Dundee yesterday. It's just, it's beyond us. Timex strike in Dundee was the 90s. Yes, it was that. And then that was a time when there was a big decline in manufacturing in Dundee in the 1990s, wasn't it? With the tyre factories and everything up there. Fans are fed up with the board. Brendan Rodgers was also. If our squad was inept, it can be better, and the possibility of McGregor game being shown. I think that, I mean, even the players that are coming back, will they be in a rush to overexert themselves. It's always a hard one when players come back at this stage of the season because all they're doing is trying to get their fitness up for the summer. They're really preparing for the summer. We're expecting players to come in and go right into battle to try and win as the league. Can Alistair Johnson do what Julian Araujo did? Julian Araujo doesn't look like he's going to be back at Celtic because of his injury. And Celtic won't say anything. Celtic will say nothing. That's the worst thing about it. I'd rather that Celtic come out and said, look, Julian Araujo's had this type of injury. He's been recalled by his parent club and he's no longer at Celtic. But it's the silence from Celtic about these situations. You know, it's unbelievable. In 2026, Brendan Rodgers, John Kennedy is a better management team than Martin O'Neill and Maloney. We're really having the conversation about trying to get Brendan Rodgers back. Is that how low we are setting our standards going forward? If it is, it's bad, isn't it? If there are fans that are pinning their hopes on Brendan Rodgers' return, not a chance. Listen, there's not a chance Brendan Rodgers will return after that damning statement by Dermot Desmond. Come on, get your head out of the sand. Look at this. Look at the reality of the situation. Absolutely bonkers talk. That. With this effed up board, it'll be odds on that Scales, McCowan, Schmeichel will be getting 10-year testimonials. That's the level of Dermot Desmond's ambition at Celtic. I genuinely feel we will still win this league. My head says and my heart says yes. My gut says nah, it's not a chance. These players haven't got it in them. They don't have the fight. They don't have the fight. I think that it will be the time we get to the split. If we manage to win the 2 games and get to the split, you'll be thinking there's a chance. If we drop anything before the split against what you would class as lower teams, but Dundee United are classed as a lower team because of their league position. You know, we're nothing to fear, and we've known that all season. We knew at the beginning of the season that we had lost the fear factor. Nobody was coming to Celtic Park thinking, you know, boom. Comes down to players, ability, management, fans. Fans have got a big part to play in it. People can complain and say, well, we need the Green Brigade back in. It's only 250 people that are missing from the stadium. Do you know, we're making excuses now for the atmosphere not being as good because there's 250 fans not in the stadium. You know, as fans, people need to look at that as well. You know, it's not just the board, it's everything put together has made it a very, very toxic season and very easy for players and opposing teams to come to Celtic and not feel intimidated. You're not going to feel intimidated when you're coming to a giant library. You know, you're going to play your football as if you are. Brendan Rodgers was trying to destroy Celtic from within. Rodgers didn't leave until he knew he was getting the golden handshake and signed the code of silence document. Yeah, that's the way that Brendan did things the last time as well. After getting Celtic to a Champions League playoff, a record turnover, the board gave him no money to spend. I would have walked in toward Dermot Desmond to stick it. When you see how far we went last, God, when you think about last season, but even the end of last season, after the game in Germany, we were on a slow decline. We never reached that height again, did we? You know, Sean says, I know what you mean, Baz, but the other two will drop points as well. If you think it's bad now, if the Huns win this league, then we'll never live it up. Yeah, tell me about it. I still think that we can do it. I believe that we could. I thought it would be a tight game yesterday. I didn't think it would be a defeat. I thought there was maybe one goal in it. Can we win 5, 6 of the remaining games and still win the league? Very difficult. You would expect. Here's the scenario. For Celtic to win the league, Celtic would need to beat Rangers at home. Celtic need to beat Hearts at home convincingly, which they haven't done all season. So you've got to bear that in mind. And then you need Rangers to beat Hearts. That's when it gets interesting. If that scenario plays out, and as long as Celtic keep winning until those games, if that scenario plays out, Celtic, weirdly enough, find themselves nearer the top of the table, if not top of the table. And that would be very interesting. Because Hearts aren't a great team, but they're grinding out results. You know, Danny Rowe's got Rangers playing at home, away from home. They're not as great, but Julian isn't injured. Neither is Big Tam, says Melee Boy. Is he just away back to away back south then? Celtic banished them. Wait a minute. Cool. What have you heard, mate? What have you heard, since you're probably one of the people that, I think the only person that stays closer to the ground than you is Typhon McFlustery. But because I know the pub that you drink in, what have you heard? Tell me on Facebook. Could be the scenario that we're out of the race. We play Hearts at home last game. Hearts need to win. I don't think that we'll play Hearts last game. That would be chaos. Absolute chaos if Celtic are at home to Hearts the last game. I don't think it'll be Hearts the last game. They'll make sure that I think the first game after the split will be Hearts, and then the second game after the split will be Rangers. Wait and see. Wait and see. Celtic will get 2 home games, 2 away games, and then a home game to end the season. We'll wait and see. Until it's impossible to win the league, I'm not giving up hope. No one will. But as come the summer, we will be left with 5 players, as everyone will have left. Just Nicholson and Mackay to go before them, mate. I don't think everyone would go, but yeah. Just going to jump through some of these. Here we go. Does anyone think that we will win the league? If so, what are you basing it on? Genuine question. That's the only scenario that I could think, Michael, is that we win every game up to this. We win the 2 games up to the split. The first game after the split is Hearts. We beat Hearts at home. The second game after the split's Rangers. We beat them at home, and then Rangers play Hearts the following week. Rangers beat Hearts. That could potentially put Celtic top of the league. Potentially. Lots of ups and downs. There's no passion from the players. No, there's not. How can't we beat bottom 6 teams lately? I have no idea. We used to go on a run at this stage of the season. We used to go on the wee trip to Dubai, and it would reinvigorate the players. It's probably the worst thing that happened is them taking away the 2-week break at Christmas time. Since they're taking away the 2-week break, can you just take away the split altogether? Because it devalues the league, I think. No chance that we will win several games. Tell me about it. That's the thing. The one thing they do have is the fight buzz. Sunday is an exception, and there are several reasons for that. I think Martin O'Neill would disagree with that because I don't think, if you listen to what Callum McGregor said, we've been kind of grinding things out and getting, your luck runs out at some point. You can't keep on relying on late goals. There was only one game that we scored an early goal, and then we conceded. We scored within the first 15 minutes, and then we conceded. My dad said to me at the beginning of the season, when I was home last year, my dad says to me that Celtic are absolutely rubbish. They can't score a goal in the first 20 minutes. So that's not Celtic. Celtic always score in the first 20 minutes, and they can't do it this season. Anyway, um, rumours Celtic fan media are banned at the moment because the board are scared they are between the scenes. There's only two. Listen, not all Celtic fan media are banned. We need to stop this. Not all Celtic fan media are banned. It's only a select few that are banned. There are still Celtic fan media that get into Celtic Park and ask questions. We'll win these last 7 games. I have faith. Rocco was not injured. He was called back by his club after his behaviour. Do we believe in that? The players need to believe they can win, not us. Yeah, that's it. Ultimately, it's the players that need to believe, and the players need to up it. Can't do it without a striker. No. There are no other contingencies at Celtic. No, there isn't that. We need anyone to beat Hearts. Hearts will drop points, but I just don't know where. Right, I'm going to jump straight to the end of the comments, and then that's me done and dusted for this evening. Are these games selected by a committee? No, it's allegedly meant to be a supercomputer, isn't it? But anyway, I don't. Who knows? Right. I think that's it for this evening. It's not a good time to be going to Saudi. Right, I shall see you all in the morning. I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow morning. It's going to be a tough international week. And 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a Celtic. Well, a week to know, but I hate international football. Suppose we'll need to watch some football and see how the Celtic players do, and just hope and pray that no Celtic player gets injured on international duty. Anyway, that's me done and dusted for this evening. Have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. I know it's tough just now, but will Celtic remove any board member this summer? 65% say no, 35% said yes on the vote. Oh, we had a new member as well. Gary Boy, welcome to the One Celtic Fans View community. I've just seen that pop up there. I shall see you in the morning. I hate international breaks. My throat's done. I might go down to one video during I doubt it. I'll just keep going, just for you lot, just to give you something to look forward to on a daily basis. See you in the morning.